Welcome back. The world has lost one of the defining vocal presences of the 1980s. She left behind a recording that ranks among the most celebrated in the history of popular music. A song carried by a gravelly, weathered timbre that critics have long described as impossible to replicate. Yet, strangely enough, that instrument was not the one she was born with. There is more. The woman who idolized her most fiercely would later set her sights on the singer's husband. She would also become the only performer ever to headline a concert during a total solar eclipse. Few remember that she recorded in Spanish. This is a tribute to the remarkable Bonnie Tyler.
Once upon a time there was light in my life, and I need you now tonight. A total eclipse of the heart.
Behind the stage name was Gaynor Hopkins, born in Wales on June 8, 1951, into a household steeped in music. Her father, Glyndwr, worked in a coal mine, while her mother, Elsie, sang in the church choir and instilled in her children a deep reverence for opera and music. After her formal schooling ended, Gaynor first worked in a grocery store, then behind the counter at a supermarket. At 17, she entered a local talent competition. Though she did not win, the rush of standing before an audience left her certain. Music would be her path. In late 1969, she joined Bobby Wayne and the Dixies as a backing vocalist. 2 years later, she rebranded herself as Shireen Davis, a name stitched together from her niece's name and her favorite aunt's. Under that new identity, she formed her own group, Imagination, which performed in pubs and clubs across South Wales and earned a modest local following. On July 14, 1973, at 22, Gaynor married Robert Sullivan, a successful property dealer and businessman who had competed in judo. 2 years later, fortune intervened during a performance. Roger Bell, a talent scout in the record industry, had traveled down from London hoping to hear a male vocalist who had been highly recommended. That same evening, he wandered into a bar where, by pure coincidence, Gaynor's band was performing. Struck by the power of her voice, Bell wasted no time inviting her to London to record a set of demos. Weeks later, RCA Records called. They wanted her signature on a contract, but first suggested she adopt a more commercially compelling name. The result was Bonnie Tyler. Late in 1975, she recorded her debut single, My Honeycomb.
With a picture of you in my head, my honeycomb.
Months later, in September 1976, came Lost in France, the breakthrough that would define her early career, selling more than 250,000 copies and staying on the UK charts for 10 consecutive weeks.
I was lost in France, in love.
Everything felt like a dream Bonnie could hardly believe. Then disaster struck. During recording sessions, she noticed her voice shifting, accompanied by persistent throat soreness. Medical examinations revealed large nodules on her vocal cords that required urgent surgery. Afterward, doctors instructed her to remain silent for several weeks to allow proper healing, an instruction she found impossible to follow. The result was permanent. Her voice emerged rough and raspy, forever altered. What would you do if the one thing that made you you was taken away overnight, only to return as someone else's voice? Tell me in the comments. She wept, convinced her career had ended before it even began. Instead, that same weathered sound would become her signature, the very thing the world would fall in love with. Shortly after, she released More Than a Lover, a single that ran into censorship trouble over its lyrics.
Deep in your eyes, half of me lies. Let me be more than a lover.
These early recordings were compiled into her debut album, The World Starts Tonight, released on November 4, 1977. Now singing in her transformed voice, she released the UK single, variously known as It's a Heartache, which became her first true international breakthrough. The song was released in the United States in early 1978, when singer Juice Newton also released a competing version of the same track, though it never eclipsed Tyler's original, which climbed to the top of the charts in the UK, the United States, Germany, France, and Australia, and became a favorite across Spain and Latin America.
It's a heartache, nothing but a heartache.
The track appeared on her second studio album, Natural Force, which also featured notable songs such as Heaven and Straight from the Heart.
I don't take you to heaven anymore, as long as I know it's coming straight from the heart.
Her subsequent releases found little traction, either at home or abroad. Though, curiously, in 1979, she recorded a Spanish-language track, Sola a la orilla del mar, that surprised many of her listeners.
No sé qué decir, hay tanto que hablar.
Between 1977 and 1981, she released 4 albums, but grew increasingly restless about the direction of her career and the diminishing promotion for her recent work, prompting her to seek a new path. After observing the tremendous success of singer Meatloaf under producer Jim Steinman, Bonnie sought him out and signed him to a new deal with Columbia Records. The first 2 songs Steinman prepared for her were a reimagined take on Creedence Clearwater Revival's classic Have You Ever Seen the Rain and the track Going Through the Motions, both well-received and instrumental in reshaping her image. In 1982, Steinman wrote and produced what would become the defining triumph of her career and one of the most celebrated recordings in popular music history, the towering ballad Total Eclipse of the Heart.
Once upon a time there was light in my life, and I need you now tonight. A total eclipse of the heart.
The song became a global sensation, reaching #1 in the United States, Australia, Canada, and the United Kingdom. At its commercial peak, the single sold roughly 80,000 copies a day and ultimately sold nearly 8 million copies worldwide, cementing its place among the best-selling songs of all time. 80,000 copies a day. Take a moment to absorb that number. Do you remember the first time you heard that song, where you were, and who you were with? In 1984, Tyler released another song that would become inseparable from her legacy, Holding Out for a Hero, co-written and co-produced once again by Jim Steinman. The track appeared on the Footloose soundtrack and reached the top of major charts worldwide. It appeared on her 6th studio album, Secret Dreams and Forbidden Fire, which also featured the notable track If You Were a Woman, written by Desmond Child and produced by Steinman. In 1988, Bonnie Tyler released her 7th album, Hide Your Heart. Although the album itself underperformed commercially, several of its songs would go on to achieve enormous success when covered by other artists. The title track became a major hit for the rock band Kiss in 1989, while Save Up All Your Tears became a major hit for Cher. Meanwhile, The Best became an international hit for Tina Turner. From the 1990s onward, Tyler's popularity declined in England and the United States, prompting her to settle in Germany, where her music retained a devoted following. From there, she released several albums that achieved moderate success in Norway, Austria, Sweden, and Switzerland. Throughout her extensive career, Tyler distinguished herself for her remarkable versatility, recording in English, Spanish, French, and Italian, and performing duets with an eclectic roster of artists across multiple genres, including Status Quo, Rod Stewart, Cliff Richard, Lucy Lawless, Salvatore Adamo, Meatloaf, Frankie Miller, and Albert Hammond. Notably, she also recorded a duet with Andrea Bocelli titled Vivo per Lei, but disputes between the two artists' record labels prevented its official release, a genuine loss for fans. In 2000, Tyler was invited to the wedding of actors Catherine Zeta-Jones and Michael Douglas, where she performed Total Eclipse of the Heart for the couple. On a personal note, her favorite song of all time was Tina Turner's River Deep, Mountain High. Among her few regrets was never having children. She repeatedly postponed the decision, and by the time she finally tried to conceive, she was already 39. She became pregnant once but miscarried and never conceived again. In 2014, Tyler endured one of the most painful blows of her life when she learned that her husband, Robert Sullivan, her partner of 5 decades, had been unfaithful, not to a stranger, but to a close friend and devoted fan, Megan Pernot, a French admirer who had followed her from concert to concert and even built a website dedicated to the singer. 50 years of marriage, one devoted fan who crossed a line no one expected. Could you have forgiven him? Bonnie ultimately chose to forgive her husband, who denied the affair and insisted that the woman in question was merely unstable. On August 21, 2017, Tyler performed Total Eclipse of the Heart during a total solar eclipse aboard a Royal Caribbean cruise ship, becoming the only artist ever to perform under those conditions. Bonnie Tyler remained a tireless performer, never stepping away from recording or touring. Her final studio album was released in 2021. Although she never again reached the top of the charts, commercial dominance was no longer the point. She stayed clear of scandal and continued to perform, record, and tour around the world. The wealth she had accumulated in the 1980s was invested wisely, providing her with a comfortable life, land in New Zealand and Portugal, more than 20 properties across the United Kingdom, horse stables, farmland, and even a quarry. She also became a committed philanthropist, lending her voice to the fight against cancer and HIV/AIDS, campaigning against animal cruelty, and supporting vulnerable children worldwide. In her later years, Tyler's health began to decline. On May 6, 2026, she underwent emergency surgery to repair a bowel perforation and was then placed in a medically induced coma in intensive care to improve her chances of recovery. When physicians attempted to wake her from the coma, she suffered cardiac arrest. If you could send her a single message right now, what would you want her to know? Although doctors managed to stabilize her, she never fully recovered. Bonnie Tyler died on July 8, 2026, at age 75, leaving millions of fans worldwide in shock and mourning. It is a sorrowful piece of news, yet one that awaits us all. Farewell, Bonnie Tyler. Thank you for the music. Her extraordinary songs endure and will never be forgotten.